All right, guys, this is Coach Campbell. So I'm sure you guys got questions and let you guys get started.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, as always, please use your raise hand icon in the participants menu to get in line to ask a question. And our first question today will come from John Schaefer of WOI. Go ahead, John.
Matt, it seems like every year in pregame, you and Mike Gundy seem to have some of the longest conversations of any coach in the Big 12. What is it about you and Mike's conversation pregame that maybe lasts a little bit longer, and what's that relationship like?
Yeah, I just think from my end, there's a lot of respect for him and obviously what he's been able to build. I've always been impressed with how his teams have played and competed, and probably more than anything, just a respect factor.
And then along those lines, obviously a top 10 opponent this week. What does this game do as far as measuring stick for you guys as you head to Stillwater?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's really early in the season. For us, we're kind of going into, what would be our second pot of games and how our schedule really unfolds. And, I think for us, continued measurement is our growth. And, we had another opportunity to have a bye week a week ago, really kind of hone in on some of the things that we had the ability to do in the first pod and some of the areas that we felt like we needed to continue to get better. And, can we continue to grow and can we continue to get better through the entirety of a season? I think that's still a really big challenge for our program. That's something we've not done here yet. And it's going to take great leadership from our coaches and obviously from our senior leadership to be able to continue to forge forward and get better as the season goes on.
Our next question will come from Randy Peterson, the Des Moines Register. Go ahead, Randy.
Matt, in what areas has Brock grown since the 218 game down there?
Yeah, I think Brock's greatest growth is just his experience and understanding the highs and lows that come with playing the quarterback position. I think at this level, there are so much expectation. There is so much demand on him being his best and what's perceived as his best all the time. And, I think it takes both a physical and emotional toll to play quarterback and play quarterback for a great length of time at this level. And Brock is certainly a young man that's taken all of his experiences and continued to grow, both as a football player and as a leader within our program. So, I just would say a lot of growth has occurred over the last 2 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question will be from Stephen McDaniel of the Iowa State Daily. Go ahead, Stephen.
How's it going, Coach? Just looking more towards Saturday. I'm just kind of curious what you guys have seen out of Oklahoma State's linebacking core, and just if their aggressiveness will have to cause just more use of tight ends for blocking.
I think the reality of their entirety of their defense is experience. 9 of 11 starters back. Of the other players that are back on their defense, there is probably 20 guys that have played a ton of football on this defense. So you're talking about a physical, very experienced defense, and that has the ability to create havoc in a lot of ways. And so their linebacker core certainly has the veteranness in there and the physicality about itself that's really impressive on the videotape.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Robert Allen of the Oklahoma State Radio Network. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, Matt, I appreciate you doing this, obviously, and I wanted to ask two questions. First, let's start with Charlie Kolar. I know Oklahoma State lost a tight end right before signing day, the year he signed, and they kind of jumped to see if he was willing to change his mind, and he held steady and firm. Talk about what he means to your program, and again, it started with that decision, staying loyal. Yeah.
First of all, Robert, good to hear from you, and second of all, the Charlie piece of it, you're right. That's a hard decision when a school in your home state kind of comes in on you in the recruiting process. And I think it says a lot about who Charlie is. And at that time, Charlie had a brother that was at Oklahoma State as well. So, I know there was personal meaning towards getting that scholarship offer. And it takes a lot of courage to, kind of leave home and stay committed to us. But, I really appreciate his courage. And, Charlie comes from a great family with great character. And, we're really grateful that he did make that decision, because he's certainly been a big pillar of us continuing to grow as a program, and really appreciate who he is, both on and off the field for us.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is there's a lot of talent that's going to be on the field Saturday. I think both teams have got talented players up and down both sides of the football. But when you think about the X's and O's for a coach coming into this, I think both teams have some pretty talented coordinators that move the pieces around pretty good. If you took yourself out of this as a participant, it'd be a fun game to watch from an X and O standpoint, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right on that. I think the reality of, obviously, Oklahoma State have always done a great job putting their players in great position to be successful. And, then you talk about the talent that's involved in the game. I think a great game as a fan to watch, and certainly, as a coach to participate in.
Look forward to seeing you Saturday. Thanks, Matt.
All right, thanks so much.
Our next question will come from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN.com. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Matt, hope you're doing well. The Big 12 is known so much for offense and quarterback play, but both of these teams, play defense and run the ball. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on the significance of that, with such a big game in the conference this week, and both teams being similar in those ways.
Yeah, I think, Adam, the big thing for the reality of success of both teams early on is their ability to do those two things that you just said, is play defense, and then have the ability to create a running game. Obviously they've got a tremendous tailback. We really like Brees, and he's growing as a football player. And so I think those are things that allow you to steady the ship in a year like we're having, where, all the other things you're trying to get settled in. But I think with the shortened season, with the shortened camps, I think the ability to run the football and be able to play defense certainly give you the ability to get off to a good start, and that certainly helped us. And, from the videotape, it certainly looks like it's helped them tremendously as well.
The next question will come from Michael Swain of Cyclone Alert. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Coach, two questions for you. First off, with Aishim Young, he had the targeting call against Texas Tech. Is that something that you can appeal, and have you guys looked into that? And I guess if he isn't able to play in that first half, just how big of a loss is it for the defense?
Is it something you can appeal or not? Our commissioner and his staff do a really good job of communicating, and they look at it after the game. Obviously, he will not be able to play in the first half of the game, and those are things that we just got to continue to coach through and work through. And Aishim is a very good player, but he's there's been a lot of guys that have played at the middle safety spot. So I think that obviously we'll be excited once he's able to come back into the game. But Arnold Azuna has done a phenomenal job playing in there. Greg Eisworth's done a phenomenal job playing in there. So we're fortunate that we got a lot of guys that can play, and we'll just kind of pick up the pieces and continue to move forward, and then look forward to regaining Aishim in the second half of the game.
Our next question will be from Zane Douglas of the Iowa State Daily. Go ahead, Zane.
Hi, Matt. We haven't talked about red zone defense a lot. How have you kind of felt about how your red zone defense has done, kind of in the details and otherwise?
I guess I would have to really go back and look statistically of what we've done. I don't know if I know that offhand, other than the fact of, I think we've done a really good job of trying to hone in on the margins, as getting off the field on third down, being successful in the red zone, forcing teams to field goals. And, those are mechanisms that good teams have the ability to do and grow in as the year goes on. And like I said, we're still at an early point of the season to even give an evaluation of, I think, any of those areas is probably too early. But to continue to pound away at those as the season goes on will be really important for us.
Thank you.
The next question will be from Travis Hines of the Ames Tribune. Go ahead, Travis.
Hey, Matt, I know when you guys are in the midst of the season, the only way to approach it is week to week and game to game. But I'm curious, when you get to the end of a year or you look back at previous years, are there usually or have there been games that stick out as that feel maybe that like they were more important in retrospect or that the season did pivot off them?
Yeah, I think sometimes more so it becomes plays or series as the year goes on that become pivotal when you really look back in hindsight. You know, I think games are just what they are. You know, I think, again, you're going to have success and you're going to have failures, and the key to all of that is your ability to respond. So, you know, I think the bigger things that you look back on that see as big moments are the situations or the plays that are made in certain situations that either allow success to occur or you know, maybe don't allow success to occur. And I think those are probably more the critical moments that you reflect back on.
Is there a common thread of what those moments look like from year to year?
No, I think each year has got its own story, you know, and I think, you know, a year ago, a lot of youth, you know, a lot of probably mistakes in the detail, and you know, other years when we've been more experienced, you know, maybe we've been able to make some of those plays in the detail. But I think a lot of it comes back to situations and situational football, and you know, the ability to do what good teams have the ability to do to have success. And I think you're always trying to find those areas and see maybe what's prohibiting you from becoming that team that you truly want to have the ability to become.
Thanks.
Yep.
Our next question will come from Ben Visser of the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Coach. You put your team, and your team has put yourself in a position to control your own destiny in a game against Oklahoma State, who's also undefeated. What's that like, going into a game where both teams kind of control their own destiny?
Yeah, again, I think for Miami, it's so early in the season. You know, I think we've been here. You know, we've been in moments over the last 3 years where, you know, I think there's really almost, you could, in theory, look at it and say almost every team at this point in the season still controls its own destiny. And I think that's what becomes tricky about this time of year. You gotta really take the noise and you gotta throw it away, and you gotta just keep working and getting better. And you know, those are things that you talk about, you know, towards the tail end of the season. And that's where you ultimately want to get to. And so I think what you do is you just continue to go to work and become the best version of yourself you possibly can be. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. And a lot of times that's a challenge when you're dealing with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old coaches sometimes. So, you know, I think that's the key to success. And again, so early right now in a football season that there's still so much football left to be played.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next question will be from Mark Freund of WHL. Mark, you're unmuted, and go ahead.
Hi, Matt. Just curious about, you touched on the running game. Obviously, Hubbard gets a lot of the attention, but they've got a couple other guys who are averaging more than 7 yards a pop. How difficult is that to prepare for as a defense, knowing that, you know, maybe there are going to be some other guys that get some looks, they can mix it up a little bit more, that kind of thing? Do you see that a lot, I guess?
Yeah, you know, I think that's the thing about really good teams that run the ball. There's more than just one great ball carrier, you know, and they're fortunate that they've got two young men that are exceptional right now at running the football. Obviously, one of those being a senior who's, you know, playing his best football of his career, and playing really special. And then obviously Chuba Hubbard, who we know is an elite player and elite talent. And then you throw in a quarterback who's got, you know, elite running ability. That's a challenge for any defense. So it'll be a great challenge for us. You know, our discipline and our ability to tackle are certainly going to get challenged in a lot of ways, and you're not even talking about elite skill players on the outside that can make you pay. So, you know, the great teams have that, and Oklahoma State certainly has got the ability to do all those things well.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Next question will be from Bill Seals of Cyclone Report. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, man, I know in the past bye weeks have kind of allowed you guys as a coaching staff to take a look at the younger players in the program, the scout team guys and get them maybe a little bit more work. I was wondering if you could kind of maybe, if that was the case this bye week, recap that a little bit and share maybe some of the younger guys in the program that are getting you guys' attention.
Yeah, but again, I think with the uniqueness of this season, this bye week in general just really continued to put the focus on the entirety of the program. Again, I think where you're still in such an early part of the year, you're really maximizing your opportunity to get good football reps. We really used the bye week to clean up kind of holistically our fundamentals and our details and a lot of our scheme in terms of offense, defense, and special teams. So, I think we took a more global approach this time around in terms of, so to give you maybe a young guy, and I don't know that's fair just yet because I think a lot of those young guys already are doing some really good things for us. And, I think it'll be interesting to see if some of those guys do emerge as the season continues on.
Thank you.
Our next question will be from John Schaefer of WOI. Go ahead, John.
Matt, every week these COVID numbers come out for Iowa State. What's allowed you guys to avoid, COVID-19 and the negative impact that's out there with this right now?
Yeah, I know I've answered this before in this regard, John, because I think a little bit of it is luck. I think sometimes your kids can really try to do a great job, and it can come out of nowhere, and next thing you know, I think the scary thing about this virus is the ability for it to transmit through your program and transfer from person to person really fast. I think the credit for our kids has been their ability to hopefully continue to make great choices outside of football. I think in any program you're grateful for a training staff and everybody setting up really good protocol and keeping great protocol within your walls. But when you're dealing with young people in general who have to go to class and who got to go to tutors and have to do all these things, you're still dealing with young people that are living a life outside of football. And we can't protect those walls, we can't protect those environments. And so a lot of our kids trying to wear masks when they're in public, continue to stay close to the people that they live with, and really make great decisions outside of our walls. That's the biggest, I think that's the biggest thing that our kids have done a great job of. And I think it continues to be the greatest challenge of our organization going forward daily. So, a great challenge for us. Our kids have done a great job so far, and, let's hope that continues. But again, it's one of those situations and challenges that sometimes you got to be a little bit lucky as well.
Our next question will be from Randy Peterson, the Des Moines Register. Go ahead, Randy.
Matt, do you have any update on Trevor and Tariq?
Yeah, like I said last time with Trevor, I think Trevor's more with looking here for a couple weeks down the road for his availability to be back and ready to go. Tariq more in that week-to-week situation. And, I think Tariq will probably have a really good idea, getting back out on the practice field today of, where he's at and what his availability would be for Saturday. But like I said, Trevor will not be available this weekend and will be a little bit more down the road towards the end of the season.
I got one more, and I just thought of it while you were answering. You've been asked a lot of COVID questions, but I don't know whether you've been asked this one or not. Would you be in favor of an athletic dormitory, like some schools have?
Yeah, that's probably any answer to that would probably be not well thought out, Randy. So I'll think about it and I'll answer it next week.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Jared Stansberry, a Cyclone fanatic. Go ahead, Jared.
Hey, Coach. That game last year against Oklahoma State, I think, was one that was frustrating for a lot of people. What you guys learn from that game, and what can you take into Saturday that you did learn from that game?
Yeah, I think you look back on that game, and there was a lot of real positive in that game, and there was a lot of real negative. And I think when you live in those great highs and lows in a football game against elite talent, then you're going to get what the result really was, and the result was a loss. And so, I think the biggest thing that we took out of it, and really especially offensively and defensively, you want to continue to pound away at those positive things that were able to occur and eliminate, the self-destruction that can occur as well. And, we've seen that just from our team in general. When we play really well, we really take care of ourselves and play in a great flow. And when we don't, there's times where we implode and allow big things to occur. And that certainly happened a year ago. We didn't play in a great rhythm.
Our next question comes from Robert Allen of the Oklahoma State Radio Network. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, Matt, talk a little bit about the play of your defensive line, and especially their production in negative play. I mean, it's extremely impressive what they do to put opponent offenses behind the chain.
Yeah, I think for us, we're very fortunate to have a veteran group on that defensive line, guys that you would hope are playing their best football at this point in their career, and a lot of those guys are. So I think that has certainly led that group to play well. And I think the other thing that I would say too is, it's a compliment to our secondary, to our defensive backfield, and to our linebackers, because they're allowing that group to really function and play. And that has been really fun to watch as well. There's some veteranness in that backfield that continues to play really well for us. So I think those two things probably have allowed that defensive line to get off to a really positive start so far this year.
Our next question will be from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN. Go ahead, Adam.
Matt, when you watch Oklahoma State's defense and their success, how much of it is just having so many players back from last year, or the scheme? What are some of the factors that have gone into their success on that side?
Yeah, I think both of those things are overwhelming in terms of what has led to their success. I think number one, the amount of players that are back and playing for them that have played football. And again, I think in a year like this, when you have experience, when you have guys that are back in a scheme that is, being continued now for these guys over the last 3 years, I think it allows you to get off to a really fast start. And it certainly allowed that to happen for these guys. And then on top of it, you put really good talent in terms of athleticism, the ability to run, and you mix up a scheme that uses their aggressiveness and their skill and their ability to run with it. It's really allowed them to be outstanding so far this year.
Our next question will be from Jet Beecham of KGAN. Go ahead, Jet.
Hey, Matt, when you guys face OSU on this Saturday, it'll be 3 weeks since their last game. Does that change preparation, and, especially with not having a recent film on these guys?
No, I don't think so. I think the reality of it is everybody's dealing with something. And so, I think the one positive I'm sure from their end is they're healthy. And anytime, you get an extended period of time to regroup, I think those are always positive. And when you have a veteran coaching staff and veteran players, I think you know how to use that in a positive way. So, same thing from our end, able to have a bye week last week and hopefully regroup and use that to our advantage as well.
Thank you.
And those are all the questions we have this week. Thanks for your time, Coach.
All right, thank you.